Oh, you guys are here. So today I planned a really easy baking recipe, Nutty Streusel muffins. So follow me to my kitchen and I'm going to show you how. So we're ready to start. The first thing we want to do is make our streusel topping because that needs to go in the fridge to stay cold while we get on with our muffins. So this is a very basic crumble topping. So I've got 30 grams of cold butter, which I've just cut into very small cubes. And then I need to put my flour in here. So I need to make sure I sift my flour in so there's no lumps. And I need 55 grams of that. So just a couple of tablespoons. And you can use wholemeal flour if you prefer, really doesn't matter for this. Great. And now it's time to get dirty. So we need to get in there and really rub that flour into the butter. Make sure you rub it through your hands. You want to make sure that every little bit of flour has a bit of butter on and every little bit of butter is really distributed. So these look like breadcrumbs now. So now we're ready to put in our nuts and also our sugar to add a little bit of sweetness. So I'm just going to give my hands a quick wash before I do any chopping. So you can buy hazelnuts already chopped, but I prefer to buy my own and chop them myself, and then I can just get whatever size I want. So I'm just going to quickly chop about 30 grams into quite large pieces, because I quite like a lot of texture when it comes to my crumble toppings. But if you have a machine or anything, then just whiz it in a kitchen machine just to make it a little bit quicker. So these nuts are ready to go in. And I have got a few that I chopped earlier, but there's just 30 grams of nuts in there. And then I'm going to go in with about 25 grams of sugar, just caster sugar, just a couple of tablespoons. And then give it a mix up. Now this is a really easy crumble topping you can put on cakes, you can put it on top of fruit and then stick it in the oven and let it go really nice and brown and crispy. And it adds a really nice bit of extra texture to our muffins. So this is ready to sit in the fridge and let that butter go completely cold all over again. So I'm gonna get this in the fridge and then I'll get ready making my muffins. So we're ready to mix our dry ingredients together. So the first thing we need to do is put flour into the bowl. So I've got about 240 grams of plain flour, which is the same flour I was using for that streusel top. Now you can use wholemeal flour if you want, whatever you've got at home is absolutely fine. 240, that's enough. Take a little bit out. Okay. So then the next thing we need to do is put in something that's going to make this really lovely muffin rise. So we're going to go with our rising agent, which is going to be baking powder. So 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And we're going to also add in a little bit of baking soda, so just half a teaspoon of baking soda. And then we're also going to go in with our sugar to sweeten this up. So we're going in with 115 grams of brown sugar. So if you noticed earlier, we used caster sugar in our streusel topping. I prefer this in my muffins because I think it's got a little bit more depth, a little bit more flavour. So I don't need that. That is done. And we're ready to go in with some flavouring. So I've got some green cardamom powder, and that's just going to give a little bit of spice, a little bit of extra flavour to these muffins, and you can use anything. You can use cinnamon, nutmeg, cloves, whatever you have. That's just half a teaspoon. And then these are nutty streusel muffins, so the nuttiness, as well as in the streusel topping, is also going to go inside the muffin. So we have got some more chopped hazelnuts, just 100 grams. Now we need to give that a really good mix. And that is our dry mix done. So now all we need to do is get that wet mix ready. So now with the wet ingredients that we've got 150 millilitres of milk, and then we're going with 2 eggs. And then I've got 115 grams of melted butter. A little bit of extra flavour to go in with these is a little bit of vanilla extract, just half a teaspoon, so just a couple of drops is enough. And then we want to break up those yolks in there. Give it a bit of a mix. Now if you're going to make this in advance, you can pop this in the fridge, and then in the morning when you want your fresh muffins for breakfast, all you need to do is just mix them together in the same way we're going to do now. But it's a nice way to always have fresh muffins whenever you want them. So that is mixed. So now the wet needs to go in with the dry. So you need to make a well in the center of your dry ingredients and put all of those wet ingredients in. Now this is the important bit. Whenever you're making muffins, you need to make very swift, very quick, light strokes. You don't want to mix too much. You don't want to get the gluten working in the flour. That's what makes it stretchy like dough. These have to be really light. So the few strokes you make as possible, the lighter that muffin is going to be. But you do want to try and make sure you incorporate as much flour as you can, so everything is coated and it becomes more like a batter. Okay, this is about as mixed as I would go. So we're ready to get these in our muffin cases, and you have to be quick whenever you're making muffins, because that baking powder is going to start making this really light, really airy. We don't want to lose any of that texture. Okay. So I've already got my muffin cases already lined in my tin. That's going to save me a little bit of time. And now we're ready to fill them. So I like to use 2 tablespoons. You can use an ice cream scoop if you like. And we just want to transfer them in. And we want to fill around 12. Now these are going to rise quite a lot. So I've been round once with a good heaped tablespoon. Now I can probably go around again with about half in each. I want to make sure they're all even, so I like to go around and do 1 round first, see how much is left, and then just judge it to make sure I fill them all to the same level, because then they'll bake evenly in the oven. So that's all my mixture done, and the last thing I need to get on here now is my streusel topping. So I've taken it out of the fridge. That butter is really cold, and I'm giving a really good sprinkling, like a really generous sprinkling, because this really is the extra special part of this muffin, all over each one. Okay, these are done. So these are ready to go in the oven. It's been preheated, like I said earlier, 190 degrees, and they only need to go in for about 20 minutes. But we'll have a check on them and we'll see if they need any longer. We'll have a little look. So now we're ready to test them to check that they're done, that they're cooked through. So if you get something sharp like a skewer or something, you just need to pop it in any muffin and just see if it comes out clean. All the way down to the bottom, have a look, and you'll see that this one is totally clean, which means there's no batter that is left to be cooked. It doesn't need to go back in the oven. If yours comes out with a little bit on there, just pop it back in the oven just for a couple of minutes. But these are totally ready. Now we want to get these out of the tin, otherwise they're going to start cooking in the tin a little bit further, which is not what we want. The tin is hot, so we need to really cool them down on a wire rack or anything like that really. Now these are one of the easiest baking recipes to make. It's nice with the streusel topping, it adds a little bit of texture to that. But definitely try this at home. If you haven't made muffins before, this is a great one to start with. If you like what you see, make sure you give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, then make sure you do that now. Make sure you tell everybody you know who loves baking to get on my channel. And then if you have any comments or if there's anything you'd like me to cook, then make sure you write it just at the box at the bottom and I'll make sure that's the next video that I put up for you.